lurks in the hearts of men. The shadow knows.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to yet another thrilling adventure of The Shadow. These recreated dramatizations are designed to continue to demonstrate to young and old alike that crime does not pay. The Shadow, mysterious character who aids the forces of law and order, is in reality Lamont Cranston, wealthy young man about town. As the Shadow, Cranston is gifted with hypnotic power to cloud men's minds so they cannot see him. Cranston's friend and companion, the lovely Margot Lane, is the only one to know to whom the voice of the invisible shadow belongs. Today's story, The Shadow Challenged.
Hello? No. I can't speak to him. And please, don't put more calls through, operator. I am busy working, and I don't wish to be disturbed. Thank you. Now let's see. Where was I? Oh, yes. What was that?
I'm sorry to interrupt your work, Professor Rice.
Who is that? Who is speaking? I see no one.
I am called the Shadow.
The Shadow? I've heard of you. What are you doing here?
That manuscript you're translating, Professor Rice. It is of great value, is it not?
Yes, of course.
I want you to give it to me, Professor.
Give you this manuscript? Why, that's impossible. It's not mine. It belongs to the museum. It's a direct key to the ancient Hindu culture.
I know. That's why I've come here. I want that manuscript.
Now see here. I've always had great respect for you, Shadow. You've always worked for the forces of good against the forces of evil. But now you're behaving like a common thief.
Give me the manuscript.
No.
Very well. I see that I must use other methods.
What do you mean? What are you going to do?
This is what I'm going to do, Professor Rice.
Shadow. Shadow. Why did you do this?
Ho, Lamont Cranston. To think I believed you all these years when you told me what a golfer you were.
Oh, I just had an off day, that's all, Margot. Even the best of us experiences those. Besides, I'm not used to playing in the sun.
You weren't in the sun. You were in a nice shady wood. You never saw the fairway all day.
All right, you win.
Do we have time for a swim?
I think so.
Oh, good.
I've got to vindicate my athletic ability in some fashion.
Extra.
Hey, don't you ever change that headline down here?
Well, not till they think of a better one. Paper mister.
All right, here you go.
Thank you. Extra. Entire North State buried by snowstorm.
Well, how bad was the storm? How many feet of snow?
Margot, you're talking like a tourist. All they need is a flurry up north to cause a headline like this.
Oh, really?
Sure. You get used to these headlines after you're here. Margot?
What?
Margot, look at this.
What is it?
The story on the first page. Museum professor murdered by the Shadow.
By the Shadow?
Well, that's what it says. Professor Rice of the Cosmopolitan Museum was found dying in his apartment late this evening by police. And in a deathbed statement to Commissioner Weston, he described his assailant as an invisible man who called himself the Shadow.
Well, Lamont, that's impossible. How do you explain that?
I have no explanation, but one thing is certain. We're catching the next plane north. And you say, Commissioner Weston, that the dying man swore that his assailant was the Shadow.
That's right.
Well, somehow I can't believe that.
Now look, Miss Lane, facts are facts.
What Margot means, Commissioner, is that she can't believe that the Shadow would do such a thing.
Well, that's her opinion. Me, I think different.
What do you mean?
I've always suspected that the Shadow was a criminal at heart.
Why?
Otherwise, why would he always remain invisible? Oh, I tell you, he's a bad egg, This murder confirms it.
This manuscript, Commissioner. The one the killer stole from Professor Rice. What do you know about it?
Well, it's something that the professor was working on. Rice and 3 other scholars are employed by the Cosmopolitan Museum, specializing in, restoration and recreation of ancient Hindu culture.
Yes, I'm acquainted with all of them and their work.
Well, you probably know more about it than I do. Anyway, this manuscript was very valuable to them.
But what value would it have to anyone else?
That's out of the department, Miss Lane. My job is, who put it to the court as depicted? In other words, who killed Mr. Rice? The answer to that is the Shadow.
And the motive?
Larceny, my friend. Good old-fashioned larceny. Shadow wanted that manuscript, and he killed a guy to get it.
Commissioner, I don't think that the Shadow had anything to do with it.
Look, I heard the accusation with my own ears. Just before the erstwhile, Professor Rice gave up the ghost.
Nevertheless, I can't believe the Shadow is guilty, and I hope to be able to prove my point.
How?
Well, with your permission, I'd like to go to the museum and talk with Professor Rice's associates. See what I can learn.
Go ahead. Go ahead, my friend.
We'll leave the car here, Margot. I believe the night entrance to the museum is in this wing.
Lamont, do you suppose someone has discovered your secret and is misusing it in the Shadow's name?
That's possible, Margot.
Well, what else could it be?
Well, perhaps Weston is putting the blame of the crime on the Shadow to excuse his department's inability to solve the murder.
Oh, Lamont, what a horrible thing to do.
Well, that's just a deposition, Margot. Well, here we are. We'll have to ring for the watchman.
What do you expect to find out here, Lamont?
Well, I want to talk to the other professors and find out more about the missing manuscripts.
Yes? What is it?
Good evening. We wish to see the professor. Carter or Hagen or Allard.
Yes?
I know they're working here this evening.
Are you expected?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Oh, come in.
Thank you.
We seldom have visitors this late hour.
Oh, I guess not.
I must ask you to walk quietly, please. They do not like to be disturbed.
You mean the professors?
Oh no, not the professors. I mean those that live here.
Oh, are the people that live...
Shh. This is their time to rest.
Who?
Those that you see about you. The statues, the paintings, tires them, you know. People staring at them for the day.
Oh, yes, I can understand that.
Lamont, what does that mean?
Margot, the statues must appreciate your consideration of them, sir.
Oh, yes. Yes, they do. They know that I watch over them through the night. There is the door to the offices. I must leave you here.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes, it was nice of you to show us the way.
Not at all. Good night.
Good night.
Yes, good night. Cheerful fellow. Makes you feel right at home.
Yes. Well, let's go in, Margot.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Cranston. I didn't expect to see anyone.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Miss Lane, Professor Carter.
How do you do?
How do you do, Miss Lane? Won't you go into the office? Professor Allard is there, and I have to consult a file. I'll be right back.
Why, yes. Thank you, Professor Carter. Well, come along, Margot.
All right.
May we come in?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course, Mr. Cranston. Do come in.
Thank you. I don't believe you know Miss Lane.
No, I've never had the pleasure.
This is Professor Allard, Margot.
How do you do, Professor?
I am most delighted to make your acquaintance. Won't you both be seated?
Thank you.
Thank you. I spoke to Professor Higgin this afternoon. Did he explain to you the purpose of my visit?
Yes, he did. You are interested. I believe in solving the murder of our most worthy colleague, Professor Rice.
Yes.
A very noble endeavor.
I thought I might begin by learning more about the manuscript that Professor Rice was working on when he was killed.
An excellent beginning.
Yes. What was its value, Professor Allard?
The missing manuscript was quite priceless in rarity. but its monetary value was slight indeed, because any attempt to resell it would bring immediate arrest.
Well, Professor, what was in the manuscript?
I must confess that I do not know. You see, it was one section of a single volume that the four of us were translating. Each of us took 1/4 of the work.
The work deals with ancient Hindu culture, doesn't it?
Yes.
Would it by any chance contain any secrets? Secrets of that civilization that could be of value to someone today?
I fear that I am not at liberty to answer that question, Mr. Cranston. Perhaps Professor Hagen will be of greater service to you. He's our superior, you know.
Where is he?
He's in the laboratory upstairs. I shall be most willing to go up and get him for you.
But can't you...
I shall return in a moment with Professor Hagen. You will excuse me. Miss Lane? Mr. Cranston? Thank you.
Yes.
Well. Our Hindu friend didn't seem too willing to talk.
No. I believe he knows much more than he cared to tell.
Lamont, I wonder if... Should we answer it?
Well, I suppose I'd better. Hello?
To whom am I speaking?
This is Lamont Cranston.
Oh, so I can leave my message with you.
Certainly. What is it?
Of the 3 men that once were 4, 1 more is about to die.
Who is this? Who is speaking?
The Shadow.
The Shadow? Hello? Hello?
What's the matter, Lamont?
That person on the phone called themselves the Shadow.
Then there is an impersonator.
Yes.
Sorry to be so long.
Professor Carter, someone just called on the phone. He said that one of you 3 professors is about to die.
What?
It might be a prank, but we can't take chances.
Where are the others?
Upstairs in the laboratory. You'd better take us up there at once.
Yes. Follow me up the stairs.
Come along, Margot.
I can't imagine who'd be...
There's trouble up there. Hurry, Carter.
Sounded like Allard's voice. Right in here.
What's wrong?
Oh,
Margot, you better stay out of here. It's not a pleasant sight.
Allard, what happened? What happened to Professor Hagen?
I found him, sir. On the floor. Dying.
Was he still alive when you got here?
Yes.
Could he talk to you? Did you learn anything?
Yes, he told me that his attacker was an invisible man who called himself the Shadow.
Well, Margot, we now have definite proof that someone is impersonating the Shadow.
yes, Lamont, but what can you do about it?
Don't worry about it, Margot. I've always used the power of the Shadow to aid the forces of law and order, to help good conquer evil.
Yes, I know.
And now that someone else has discovered my secret of invisibility and is misusing this power, I shall travel to the ends of the earth to conquer him. This, Margot, is the Shadow's greatest challenge, but I'm sure that I can meet it and come out on top.
We'll find out how the Shadow meets this challenge in just a moment. But first, do you wish to voice a part in our recreation series? If so, then feel free to leave us a message on our Facebook page or upload your audition to CastingCall.club. Links to page and website will be listed in our description below. And now, back to the Shadow in The Shadow Challenged.
Lamont, have you uncovered any clues? Any leads to the identity of the person who is masquerading as the Shadow?
No, nothing important, no, but in the past 2 hours I have received 2 mysterious unsigned messages.
Really? What about?
I'll read you one of them. It says, "Why don't you inquire into the jealousy of the 4 who are now 2?
Does that refer to the 4 professors?
Yes, and I learned that it's quite true. A great jealousy existed. All 4 men, although they worked together, were constantly vying with one another for individual glory.
Then that's why the original manuscript was divided among the 4 of them.
Exactly.
Well, Lamont, you mentioned that you received 2 messages. What was the other one?
I have it here. Listen to this. What were the secrets to be found in the manuscript that was being translated by the 4 who are now 2?
And did you learn the answer to that question?
Not that satisfactory. I can only guess that these secrets were of an anarchic nature, secrets of the ancient Orient.
I see.
And it was in the Orient, Margot, that the Shadow learned his secret of invisibility.
Yes, of course. Lamont, who could have sent those messages?
I don't know his identity, but judging by the phrases he used, they were written by the same man I spoke to on the telephone. The man who calls himself the Shadow.
But why should he be helping you?
I wish I knew. In any case, Margot, his messages bear further investigation. So I think I shall start by paying a call on Professors Carter and Allard as the Shadow.
Do you, by any chance, have a feeling of uneasiness, my dear Professor Carter?
How do you mean?
We still have in our trusted possession the remaining parts of the manuscript. That would make us, shall I say, logical victims?
Then you believe, Professor Allard, that we too are marked for death?
That was not a statement. I merely pointed to the past as a warning of our future.
Well, that's a pleasant picture. If you don't mind, Professor, I'd rather not hear any more of your prophecies tonight.
Very well.
What was that?
Pardon my intrusion, gentlemen.
Who speaks? I see no one.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am called the Shadow.
The Shadow? He's come. He's come to kill us.
No, don't be alarmed, Professor Carter. I shan't harm you. I have merely come here seeking information.
It is true. It is true what we have heard. You are the invisible, Mr. Shadow.
Yes.
Very interesting. Very. How do you achieve this, invisibility?
By hypnotizing your mind, gentlemen.
Are you here to kill us as you did the others?
I did not kill the others, Professor. That was done by an impostor who used my name. And you could both help me to trap this masquerading murderer.
Help you? How?
By telling me what I wish to know. By answering my questions.
What are your questions?
What precious secrets were contained in the manuscripts that were stolen?
Secrets? I don't understand.
No evasions, please, Professor Allard. You are both working on sections of that book. What is it about? What stories of the ancient Orient does it reveal?
I'm afraid you have been misinformed, my dear Shadow. Hasn't he, Professor Carter?
Yes. There are no secrets.
You're lying. Both of you.
Lying?
Yes. And your lies are most incriminating. You see, gentlemen, I happen to know the circumstances surrounding the death of Professor Hagen. And based on these circumstances, either of you could have been his murderer.
And that's not true.
You don't know what you're saying, Shadow.
But I do. So shall we say, gentlemen, that it might be wise for you both in the future to be much more careful.
Lamont, did you learn anything from Allard or Carter?
Nothing definite. They wouldn't talk. Either of them.
Well, what's to be done now?
I'm not sure. I think it... I'll take it.
All right.
Hello?
Is this Lamont Cranston?
Yes?
I just want to tell you that the 4 who are now 2, one more is about to go.
Who is this?
You know who this is, Mr. Cranston. I am the Shadow.
Hello? Hello?
Oh, Lamont. Was that the imposter?
Yes, he's delivered another warning.
What was it?
Another of the professors is marked for death.
Oh, which one?
He didn't say. We must warn both of them at once. Come on, Margot. Carter lives right down the street. We'll go by his place first. If he's all right, we'll call Allard from there. But come quickly. We must hurry. Professor Carter! Professor Carter!
Lamont, you suppose something's happened to him already?
We'll soon find out. I'll use the skeleton key. I hate to do this, but... there we are. Come on, Margot. Carter!
Lamont, look! The living room! There's been a fight!
Yes, furniture overturned, lamps broken.
But where's Carter?
I'll look in the bedroom. Carter! Carter, are you in there?
Any sign of him, Lamont?
No. And this is the only other room in the apartment.
What could have happened to him?
I don't know. Quite obvious, though, that he was the one selected as the next victim.
This whole thing becomes more baffling every minute.
Quite the contrary, Margot. I think it becomes increasingly clear.
What do you mean, Lamont?
Before we came here, Margot, I was practically convinced that either Carter or Allard was the one who murdered Hagen and Rice.
Lamont, are you serious?
Yes, Margot. I felt that one of them learned something from their share of the manuscript, and that made them kill to obtain the other man's copies.
But how was the shadow impersonated?
That fits into it too, Margot, very neatly. I learned the secret of invisibility in the Orient. It came from an ancient source, and one of those men could have learned the secret from his manuscript.
Yes, that's very logical. But now that Carter's missing...
Yes, that only leads Allard. And I think we should pay a call on that gentleman at once. We'd like to see Professor Allard, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. He's not in his apartment.
Well, when do you expect him?
Oh, not for some time, sir. He's been called out of town, unexpectedly.
Did he say where he was going?
No, sir. He just said he would be gone, for an indefinite period.
Well, I guess that just proves Allard's guilt, doesn't it, Lamont?
I don't know, Margot. I've been reviewing the entire case in my mind, and several new factors have occurred to me.
What are they?
Well, let's just wait till we get into the apartment. We'll talk over a cup of tea. Won't you go in, Margot?
Yes, Lamont, look! Look, there seems to be a note right here under the door.
Well, listen to this, Margot. Tonight, at the hour of midnight, in the storage room in the basement of the museum, the one who you seek can be found.
Does that mean the person who's masquerading is the shadow?
I think it does. What time is it, Margot?
Let's see. About 20 of 12.
Well, if I don't want to keep our friend waiting, I'd better be getting over to the museum.
Oh, Lamont, suppose this is a trap, a scheme to do away with you as he did the others.
I'll chance that, Margot. But I want to get word to Commissioner Weston. Have him at the museum with his men at 12:15. Tell him he will find the murderer who has pretended to be the shadow. Is there anyone here? This is Lamont Cranston. Is there anyone here? Who is there?
Don't let me frighten you, Mr. Cranston. I'm your old friend, the Shadow.
You are not the Shadow.
No? How would you know that? Answer me.
I repeat, you are not the Shadow.
I see. And would your knowledge be based on the fact that you yourself are the Shadow? Would it, Mr. Cranston? You don't have to answer. I know. I've known for some time now. You are the Shadow.
What makes you think so?
I have followed activities of the Shadow for many years. I was most curious to learn the real identity. I began keeping track of all the people who were present before and after his appearances.
I see, and after discarding many suspects, your search narrowed down on me. Is that it?
That's it exactly. And I am the only man that knows the identity of the Shadow.
Well, I must compliment you on your cleverness. I admit to you, I am the Shadow.
Yes, but very powerless Shadow at this point. Having learned your secret of invisibility, I have hypnotized your mind before you were aware of me. This time, the real Shadow is the one invisible, and I am the one unseen.
How did you learn my secret?
From the Hindu manuscript.
Why did you commit these crimes in my name?
Because I wanted to attract the attention of you, the real Shadow, and I succeeded. I led you on, Lamont Cranston, with my phone calls and anonymous notes.
Why? What was your purpose?
My purpose was, and is, to put an end to your activities. After tonight, Mr. Cranston, I alone will be the shadow, and I shall capitalize on this power. You were a fool.
Why do you say that?
Always working for the powers of good, I shall take real advantage of the name. With a trick of invisibility, the world will be mine.
I gather that I'm to be the next victim in your chain of murders.
To put it bluntly, yes.
I should think that you would make more of your talents of invisibility before you attempted that.
What do you mean?
Unlike your other victims, my mind is not receptive to your hypnosis.
What are you saying?
I mean, you have been perfectly visible to me ever since you entered this room. Professor Carter.
What? You see me?
Most clearly. And now, if you observe closely, I shall instruct you in the true art of hypnosis. Look at me, Professor Carter!
No. No.
Look at me!
No.
I am disappearing before your very eyes. You see? You see?
Wait. You can't do this. You're destroying my power. You hear? You're clouding my mind. Cranston!
I am no longer Cranston, Professor Carter. I am the Shadow.
So you think you tricked me, do you? You think you gained the upper hand, but you're wrong. You're wrong!
That revolver won't be of much use. How will you ever find your target?
I'll find you. I'll find you!
Try again, Carter.
I won't miss this time. Open up in there. Open up.
I believe that's the police, Carter. You better put down that gun.
Let them come get me, and they better come shooting.
We're coming in.
You have to break open the door, Commissioner!
Keep out!
And beware, this man here is armed.
I'm warning you. Keep out! You're not gonna take me!
He's been hit, Commissioner. Come ahead.
Shadow. So you're here too.
I came to apprehend that man on the floor. He is the one who used my name in killing Hagen and Rice.
What? What are you saying?
Look, he's still conscious. Ask him. Ask him!
All right, Why, it's Professor Carter!
Yes, he was my impersonator.
Carter, is this true?
Yes, that's true.
How did you make yourself invisible?
I learned the secret from the manuscript, which I destroyed.
Carter, listen to me. You must know the identity of the real Shadow, don't you?
Yes.
Who is he?
The real Shadow.
You'll never learn now, Commissioner, but I think you should know this. In the future, you must always believe one thing about me. The Shadow, at all times, will be working on the side of right and justice.
This story is copyrighted by Street and Smith Publications Incorporated. The characters, names, places, and plot fictitious. Any similarities to any living or dead are purely coincidental.